Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a tier list. For the World Championship, which is happening this weekend in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm excited. I'll probably do a review that'll go up on the channel probably Monday. See how things go. Probably just do clips here and there of what I thought during the tournament. Cool little moments that happened, stuff like that. But let's get into this one, see how we do, see what you guys think. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't agree with me, let me know. I am always excited to hear from you guys in the comments. I try to reply to every single one, so don't be afraid. In the channel description of my channel, I believe I have a Discord. If you want to join that, you're more than welcome to. Anything like that, any comments, everything helps a little bit. Let's get into this tier list and see what you guys think. Starting off, we have Arctina. I am going to separate Arctina from Arceus builds like Armarouge, like Vulpix, things like that. I'm going to separate it. Arctina, honestly, in this current meta, I think is C tier. Genuinely, kind of every Arceus build I think is C tier right now. There just isn't enough. There's not enough power behind Arceus. You can put super powerful Pokemon behind Arceus, but genuinely, I'm starting to think that I think Arceus has kind of reached its peak, kind of reached its maximum lifespan, and yeah, we're kind of at the end. Next is Blocklax. Honestly, Blocklax, A tier. And most control decks, I think, are A tier. To include Pidgeot, Bird Control, Luxray Control, which isn't on here, but I think Luxray Control is also something that's really good. We'll see how it does. I think the meta is shaping up to where with something like Dusknoir, you're able to kind of play around it a little bit more, and even potentially turn off their counter catchers and stuff like that. So I think it's A tier. I thought about putting it S tier, reluctantly putting it S tier. I'm pretty notorious for never enjoying control decks, but I have to admit when they're good, and right now they're pretty darn good. Going on, Shenpao. Shenpao's just, it's creeped. It's been power crept. There's not a lot that I can say for it right this second. I think it's there. I think it's always a threat, but it needs the right things to go its way, and if it doesn't, it just falls short, especially in the Shrouded Fables meta. And going into Worlds, I don't know that it's going to be rock solid. Ancient Box, kind of the same thing. It doesn't hit for a ton of damage until late game, and you're kind of playing catch up at that point. If they get 3 prizes on you, you really don't get rolling fast enough. Can it do well? Of course, the right pilot is always going to be able to get it moving and get it going and pilot it correctly. But as of right now, I don't think that Ancient Box is going to show its colors at Worlds. Kind of the same thing with Gholdengo Palkia. Now, when Stellar Crown comes out, Palkia is going to skyrocket on this list, probably back into B tier. But right now it doesn't. And it's sad, but right now it doesn't. Shenpao also probably comes back up when Stellar Crown comes out because of Wellspring, but as it sits, I think they're D tier. I don't think they keep up with the meta. I don't think they have what it takes to be higher than D. Charizard, S tier. There's not much to say about it. With Shrouded Fables, it got Dusknoir and Dusclops. It's just going to get better and better. What can I say about Pokemon and the Pokemon Company? They really know that the general public loves Charizard, and they made an incredibly strong Charizard deck. Yeah, you're going to see it, and it's going to be great. Now we've got our first B tier, Future Hands. It's good because it can plink off and really kind of take control of the game very early. That being said, I don't think it's any higher than B. It really falls short in the late game, especially when you've got Pokemon like Charizard up and running, when you've got Pokemon that it just can't knock out with Iron Hands. The new Iron Thorns, I can't say new, but Iron Thorns in it really helps it because it's going to turn off quite a bit of Pokemon abilities. But overall, I think it's B tier. I think the right pilot could probably take it to A tier, but it's going to take the right pilot. Lost Tina. I feel like it's fallen short. Lost Tina is always really good, but it needs to hit that 330 range more consistently. Now, most of these decks that are in the C tier, D tier, they could very easily run something like TMD Evolution, and could very easily turn the tide on something like Pidgeot Control, like Gardevoir, like Dragapult. There's things that can be done to turn them on their heads. The question is, will that happen? And during a game, will that happen? I'm not sure that Giratina really still has the staying power overall. I don't know that it has what it needs as a deck on its own. Lost Tina. Not Lost Box, Lost Tina. I don't know that it has what it needs, but I know that it's better than Arceus Tina. I know that it's better than Shen Pao. I know that it's better than anything below it. So I'm going to leave it B tier. Tell me what you think. I don't think we see it. I personally don't think we see it in something like... I don't think we see it in top 16. We might see one top 32, but I don't think we do. I think we see it top 16. I don't even know that we see it in top 16. But we'll see. You tell me what you think. We'll keep on going. Guardy. It's S tier. It's with the right pilot in the right way, and we're getting things moving in the right direction. It's S tier. I don't know what we'll see. I would imagine probably Tord takes it. Tord's always been fantastic. I think we see Guardy top 16. We could even see Guardy top 8. Is it good for the world's meta? Yeah, it's just good in the meta game, period. You've got your Drifloons, you've got your Screamtails. Some people are even running it with Thornton and Iron Hands, which is a new concept to me, but I think it works. So, yeah. It's also one of the last... It's going to be the last time we really kind of see Guardy in its truest form, in its best form. We are losing Kirlia, the refinement Kirlia. We're losing that in April after rotation. It's not going to be there for next year's Worlds. So I think a lot of people might be taking Guardy and going, you know what? Let's give it one more good hurrah. We've got Dragapult, Xatu, or really kind of just any Dragapult. I'm fighting with it, but I think it's C tier. Dragapult on its own is C tier. It's missing 1-2 more cards that really make it go. Does Pheasantipity change that? I don't know. Last time I did a tier list, I put Dragapult pretty high up. I think I put it in A tier. I don't think it's S tier, and I think it's dropped off It just needs one or two more cards to really just make it soar up to S tier. It's there, but we'll see how it happens. Now, this does encompass all of Dragapult. So your Xatu Dragapult, your Armarouge Dragapult, your any kind of energy accelerator Dragapult, like your Dragapult Charizard. I just don't think it's B tier. I think Giratina has a very easy time with it. I think things like that just make it really kind of easy to deal with. Going into NAIC, I did say that Lugia was S tier. Now it's definitely not. It is A tier. I could even say it's probably the lowest A tier deck. It's gonna be the highest B tier deck. I love Lugia. I've always loved Lugia, but it is kind of coming to the end of its lifespan. It is getting out damaged by a lot of things. It's just not quite there. Do we see the all EXV decks doing better? Do we see the Minccino doing better? I don't know. I don't know. I run it with Minccino, but I will say that it definitely has its hiccups. It stalls itself out pretty easily. So, bottom of A tier for sure. There's no question. Bottom of A tier for sure. Then we've got Raging Bolt, top of A tier. I think people have played with it enough or played against it enough that it drops down from S tier to A tier. People just know how to play around it now. People have figured it out. People have gotten the ins and outs of Raging Bolt and Ogre Bolt. Yeah, I think it's a great deck. I do think that power-wise, what it can do, how it can hit, how fast it can be, I do think it's S tier. I just think people have played around it enough, and I think people have experienced dealing with Ogre Bolt enough that it's just going to drop it down to A tier. People know how to play around it. It does have really bad matchups into control. It has always had a bad matchup into control. I think it has a decent matchup into Charizard, but Charizard then turns around as a comeback deck and knocks it out. Guardy as the quintessential backup and comeback deck, Guardy's going to knock it out eventually, and it's just not going to be enough. But also, it has enough HP in it and whatnot so that, say, Future Hands or Giratina just don't hit the numbers that they want to hit. So, for me, power-wise, again, S tier. Playability and people understanding the deck, I think it's A tier. That being said, we have Regidrago and Ogerpon. It's S tier. Regidrago has enough that it can deal with every situation. It has things like Shred to get rid of your Mimikyus. It has things like Hisuian Goodra that can just give it more survivability. It has things like Dragonite that can just instantly get everything up and rolling and set up another Regidrago ready to go. It has the new Haxorus and the new Kyurem to just kind of let it do what it wants to do. And that's a really good deck. Do I think it wins? No. Do I think we see it in say, top 16? Yes, I do. I do think we see it in top 16. I would even say we see one in top 8. I think it's S tier. I think a lot of people are going to be looking into it. I think people overlooked it for a long while, and then it's just been winning cup after cup after cup. It's been winning challenge after challenge. It's really a good deck, and it's not something people are going to be ready for. Miraidon. I would say it's better than Dragapult, but I do think it's C tier. It's gotten to the point that it's starting to lag behind on damage output. It's really good for the early game. It gets everything up and rolling. We're good to go with the new Night Academy at Night card. We're able to guarantee energy off of the top when we use our electric generators. So it's gotten some support, but it just doesn't hit the numbers it wants to hit. And there aren't enough damage modifiers to let it hit what it wants to hit. You could argue, if somebody wanted to argue, say, hey, it should be B tier, I would probably agree with you, but it is the bottom of B tier. You can't really beat its quick, powerful speed, but it just doesn't hit the numbers that you want it to hit, and that's kind of why I'm putting it in C tier, above Dragapult. Dragapult hits numbers that are way better because of the putting 60 somewhere else, but it doesn't. To me, it doesn't have the consistency of Miraidon. Miraidon, I feel, is more consistent. It's much more of a gamble when you're dropping your electric generators, but again, with Academy at Night, you have more consistency there, and it's gotten more. Honestly, it's top of C tier because it's just more consistent than the other cards and the other decks in C tier and D tier. We have Iron Thorns, which I did not expect to be as good as it was. Quad Thorns is fantastic. I've played around with it a little bit. I am excited to build it in real life. It is a control deck in a way, but it's definitely top of B tier. You could argue A tier. I would not sit there and say you're wrong. The problem with it really is just your Quad Thorns, and draw. That's what I've experienced so far. Its draw is kind of hard. If you get stuck, you just kind of get stuck and you're relying on top deck. But Quad Thorns also just turns off everybody's ability. And it's going to take somebody like Lugia. It's going to take somebody like Pidgeot. It's going to take somebody like like Arctina and Palkia. It's going to take those decks and just kind of be like, all right, well, I win. Things that really heavily rely on your abilities, it's just going to say no, and then it's just going to plink you for damage, and it's just going to have fun with it. I think we're going to see Quad Thorns be no pun intended, thorn in other people's game. They're going to be, Iron Thorns is going to be a thorn in people's side right now. I think it's worth checking out. I think it's worth playing. I think it's worth even bringing to Worlds. It is a good deck. It's creeped up in playability and play count. We're seeing it in more cups and more challenges. We're seeing it win those small tournaments. We're seeing it win in Japan. It's good, and I don't think it's quite there. I think it just the Quad Thorns kind of holds it back. But it's going to sneak wins, and it's definitely going to make day 2 for sure. Last and absolutely not least, I am bringing out top above block lax and control lax and control birds is your Lost Box. All of the variants of Lost Box, Turbo Box, Sablezard, all of those decks that run and use the Lost engine, I think, is A tier. If you wanted to argue S tier just because of its survivability and how long it has been used, literally its entire lifespan since the day it came out to the day it's going to die, it is going to be an incredibly played deck, and it has won and won and it wins, and it's just good. It took over NAIC. I can't argue if you want to put it S tier. It is absolutely better than Lost Tina, though. Lost Tina has it has some flexibility, but it's really not that flexible. It's really not that worrisome. Once you see Giratina drop down, you know exactly what you're playing, and you know exactly how to beat it because it's been out for so long. Whereas Lost Box, there are so many different variations of Lost Box. There are so many different ways to play Lost Box. The minute you see Sableye come out or you see a Comfey come out, you have no clue what you're playing, and that is one of its strengths. Dropping down Blood Moon Ursaluna, and being able to drop down Radiant Charizard, and being able to drop down just Roaring Moon EX, and it just has so many different things that make it so incredibly strong. We are absolutely going to see it in top 16. We're probably going to see it in top 8. It is not going to go out into the night as its last worlds. It's not going to go out into the darkness and be quiet about it. Lost Zone, Lost Box, it's going to be loud. It's always going to be omnipresent, and I don't think you can get rid of it very easily. It's A tier. It's A tier for sure. That being said, if you wanted to argue S tier, I would agree. If you wanted to argue for Raging Bolt being S tier, I would agree. If you wanted to argue Miraidon being B tier, I would agree. In fact, tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm stupid. Tell me if this outfit is stupid. Just put down in the comments what you think. Let me know. And Worlds is tomorrow. We're going into this tomorrow, and we're going to find out who is the world champion for 2024. Again, it is in Honolulu, Hawaii. If you are in the central time zone, it is 4 hours behind, so keep that in mind. Yeah. If you would, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all the things that help me continue to do this. And be wrong about a lot of things. I am not saying I am the authority, but this is my list. Anyway, have fun. Stay safe. I love you. Bye.